Okay, so I thought it would be fun and interesting to do like some videos on the composers, and partially for my own education. And I have an idea who is who. There are some composers I don't know much about, and I think that would be fun to cover some of those. I did this one time on I can't remember who it was. I did this once or twice before, and anyway, I think it's a interesting thing to do. So today I'm going to do a video on because I've been looking into Mozart, but I was kind of interested in learning more about Mozart's father, Leopold. And and so I have played pieces on my guitar from Leopold. Every once in a while something gets thrown into one of my books that is by Leopold Mozart, and I rather like his pieces. What I find about them is that they're beautiful and very catchy and kind of repetitious a little bit, but that's good for me actually in learning. So I think that's why I might like it. But he is very major. So what people might not realize, everybody kind of knows that Mozart was an absolute prodigy and musical genius. He was like composing, he was playing when he was 3, composing when he was 6 or something like that. He was like a major prodigy. But what they don't know is that he has a sister, number one, who I think deserves some attention as well. We might do that. And also a father who was quite major. And at some point, the father sacrificed his ambitions to take care of his children, educate them, and make sure they became major musicians. So, so I think that Leopold Mozart deserves some attention, and he was very much eclipsed and just kind of drowned out by his son's success. And so now a lot of attention is kind of returning to Leopold Mozart, but he was very major in his own right and does deserve some attention. So he was a German composer. So Mozart also was German, violinist, and a music theorist. So Leopold did an awful lot with the violin, but he also wrote a trombone concerto. I think it is. Let me see if I got that right. Yeah, a trombone concerto. And I might look it up and see if I can find a link for that to put in here. I find that interesting because one of my first instruments was trombone. Actually, people don't know that about me, little known fact. And I played the trombone quite some time, and I switched to the baritone. And the reason I did that was because I was wearing braces, and the trombone mouthpiece cut my mouth with my braces, and the larger mouthpiece with the baritone actually was a little better for me. But I had more of a love for the trombone. And I love brass instruments, but finally, I kind of gravitated towards strings as just my thing. Anyway, but I did start with brass. I started with brass and piano. Piano, I've had a hard time progressing because I don't have a piano, and I just need to be able to sit down at a piano. So anyway, so Leopold, one of his biggest gigs was the father of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. And the full name of Leopold Mozart is Johann Georg Leopold Mozart. So he was born, I don't know if I said this, he was born 1719 in Augsburg, Germany. And he died in 1787 in Salzburg, Austria. So the early life of Mozart's father was in Germany. He wrote a major treatise on the fundamentals of violin playing. And so the name of that is Versuch einer gründlichen Violinschule, which means treatise on the fundamental principles of violin playing. And so I hope I said that right. Anyway, so he was kind of pressured in early life to study theology because becoming a cleric or a priest or something back then was a big deal. But he decided to abandon it and go mostly into music. So he moved to Salzburg, Austria, and he became a musician and valet for a royal family. So that was one of the things that people did back in those days, was to become like a servant for a rich family. And so, like, for instance, Michelangelo was like, he would have a patron basically that would, he would kind of go under their wing and their protection and also their pay. So it's kind of what was done back then. And so then he rose through the ranks until he was the Prince Archbishop's um, servant, basically, in his court. And so don't be surprised with Archbishop. I can't hardly say it, but back then, clerical people and bishops and archbishops and things like that could be also rulers. And I think that, just interjecting really fast, I think separation of church and state is the best thing ever. But never mind, that's not what they had back then. So he eventually became vice chapel master in 1762, and then he also started composing in 1757. Well, he was the royal composer in 1757. He married Anna Maria Pertl, and he had 7 children, but only 2 survived, and that was Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart and his sister Maria Anna. And Leopold really threw himself into child rearing because he sacrificed his own ambitions to take care of his children, and he wanted his children to become famous musicians, so he trained them that way. He educated them, and he also took them on European tours. And then he was like the manager, tutor, publicist for his children. So Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart was a prodigy. Now, I don't know about his sister that much. I may look her up. But I understand she was kind of major too, but because she was a woman, she didn't get much attention. And I don't know if she composed. Now, both Wolfgang and Leopold were composers. And Leopold was a prolific composer. But it's just that Mozart got all the attention and his dad just kind of got buried. And plus, his dad sacrificed an awful lot for him and his sister. And that's what people don't realize. And so then there did become tensions between Leopold and Mozart. And part of it was probably because his son was outshining him, but also, I think, because Mozart did marry a commoner, kind of, that his father did not approve of. And not only that, Wolfgang had a very strong urge for independence and therefore did not want to stay under his father's wing. And his father wasn't good with that. And so they developed a lot of tensions. Yes, one of the major works Leopold had was a concerto for trombone. And I do want to check that out because I love brass. And I explained why earlier, but I like the sound of brass. I just like the sound of brass. Now, why don't I play brass now? Well, number one, I live in these public places like apartment buildings, and right now some temporary housing where I have all kinds of. It's bad enough to play my guitar. I don't think they want a trumpet or something blasting. So it's a little harder for me. It would be hard to practice and that type of thing. The other reason I don't play brass is because I don't have the wind for it. Not anymore. So anyway, and it does affect my singing a bit. So anyway, but I love brass. I just love the sound of brass. So anyway, that's kind of the report then on Leopold, but Leopold was very major, and many of his works are still included in classical music education. And so I thought he deserved some time of his own on here, and to let you know who Johann Georg Leopold Mozart was. And so I'll put some other links in here for further information for you.